Fighting Talk back again, and today I'm delighted to be joined once again by the Bear Jew, Paul Craig, ahead of his huge fight at UFC 309 against Bo Nickal. Paul, we were just talking off camera there. Not a fight that many of us saw coming, but it's here. Just what do you make of that matchup?
For me, it's a great matchup. I think stylistically wise, coming off of a few losses, fighting against guys like Brendan Allen and Kyle Barallo, sorry. Big names and big skill set to go along with it, and probably didn't fit my matchup wise. It probably wasn't favourable fights for me, and you've seen that with the betting odds and all this kind of stuff. But I believe the fight against Bo Nickal, yes, huge name, comes from a massive pedigree of wrestling, so there's a good chance he's going to take me down. But in my world, if he takes me down, I believe that's a favourable position for me, and I believe that I'm sneaky enough, I've been in there enough to get submissions, and I've seen it happen before with guys like Jamal Hill, who we went to the ground, it looked like he'd passed my guard and resulted in him getting subbed. So I've been there before, so I'm excited for this fight, but I'm excited to go on to walk out in front of the MSG to hear the crowd. I know they're going to boo me, because you've got a nice guy in Bo Nickal. He's like your all-American hero. He's like, see if you give him an American football, I guarantee you he could at least drive like a couple of 100 yards, perfect spiral into somebody's arms. He's just like your typical American jock. So the place is going to erupt for him. There's going to be a lot of boos from me, but hey, that's been my whole career.
I've just spoken to Veronica Hardy there as well. Obviously, you share the card with her, and she was just on about that. For you, just what does it mean to be making that walk at MSG?
You know, you see these venues on classic boxing matches like Mike Tyson, like some of the greats like Muhammad Ali, and all these kind of guys get to walk out in the MSG card. We've had some top level cards coming in the MSG. It was one of the last places to get sanctioned in the world. So it was one of the last places in the US to allow MMA to happen. So to be at the forefront of that, and there's only been a couple of cards there, so it's still relatively new for mixed martial arts. Me walking out there is going to be something incredible. And these are the things that make your journey that bit exciting. Like getting to fight in places like the T-Mobile Arena is amazing, London, Hydro, all these kind of places I've been. But MSG just ticks one of the boxes, and that's what this journey does now for me. I've still got the eyes on, can I be champion? Yes, I do believe that there's an opportunity for me to be champion if the fights are right and on the right night I can beat anybody. But right now it's all about these fights that get me excited, these oh my god moments as I've been calling it, and this is going to be one of them. That's what my career's built on.
If we look then, like I say, Bo, he's been a surgeon prospect. There's a lot of hype behind him. The UFC have been doing a lot of pushing, with no disrespect to any of his other opponents, previous opponents. For me, this is a massive, massive step up. Do you see that as well in terms of you now facing him?
Yeah, it is. It's a huge step up. As we're saying, we're not insulting him that he's fought before, but I believe that it's been favourable fights for him. They've been definitely selected for him, and I do believe that I'm the first test of a top 10 guy. I've got good credentials as a light heavyweight, and I've got good credentials as a middleweight. The question I want to know is, what did I do to the UFC? What did I do to the UFC? You just keep giving me these guys. If I insulted somebody? But no, it's it shows that they have respect in my abilities, and it shows that they know that I'm a name. I'm a guy that turns up, and it's either I go out in my shield, absolutely swinging, or I put on these oh my god moments, and that's what I've been calling it. It's like Paul's knocked out, Paul's done. When I think about Krylov and he's dropping these shots, and then all of a sudden you've got a triangle, or Jamal Hill with a snap in his arm, or the last second submission, or that's my career, and I believe it's going to be one of these nights. If I'm Bo Nickal, how do I beat Paul Craig? Well, I don't take him down. That's I've got 15 minutes, and there's a good chance you make just one mistake. And if you take me down and you hold me for 15 minutes, there's a good chance you're going to make a mistake, and I will catch you. So if I'm Bo Nickal, I think this is going to be classic grappler versus a grappler, and it's going to be two guys just slogging it out, a slugfest. And that's why it's so hard up the card. They're giving Bo Nickal the push, but I'm there to upset.
Yeah, I know we're here in Glasgow now at the minute. The PFL are up here this weekend, and you've just done an interview with Dan Hardy for the Leather podcast, which is out today or tomorrow, I think it'll be.
It'll be out tonight. We'll have we're calling it open mat, so we're getting more guests on because the podcast is doing very well, and I'm enjoying it. It doesn't seem like work. I'm speaking to my friend Ross, and we're having this good bit of banter. We're talking about MMA, we're talking about stuff that interests us. But this open mat is like, that's what we're calling it. So it's leathered open mat, and it's giving us characters who are making me think about myself. Like that interview with Dan Hardy, I was like, honestly, I must have asked about 2 questions because I was just so blown away with how he was talking and his experiences, and I'm like, I'm at this exact crossroads in my life because I'm 36. I'll be 37 come November. How long do I have left? These are the questions you ask yourself. Like, am I still here? Have I still got the dog in me? Yeah. And listening to Dan Hardy, I'm like, right, the dog is still in me, and he's got. It's that the greatest way to look at it is, see that ketchup bottle that you've not put in the bin yet. Like, there's still a wee tiny bit in the bottom, and it's still golden. It's still ketchup. That's what I've got in me. That wee bit, which is just going to translate into fighting for this New York card.
So what was it, I guess, specifically then from what he said there? Because you've said yourself, it's lit that spark in you.
Yep. He'd said he was coming off the 4 losses back to back. I think it was GSP, Rumble Johnson, Carlos Condit, and there was maybe one more. And then he went and fought Dwayne Ludwig, and he said he went through an experience in his life, and it totally made him make this massive U-turn. Yeah. And it was like, as he's talking about it, I'm thinking like, I'm there. I'm coming off a loss to Brendan Allen, Baralio. I lost to Johnny Walker. It's been a bit up and down, and I'm like, where does that leave me? As I said, like, anybody that steps on the mat wants to fight for the UFC and wants to fight for a UFC title. Where does that leave me right now? Because I'm not in the top 15 anymore as a middleweight. How do I move forward? And having a chat with Dan, it's just like, I'm like, right, I'm hungrier now, and I'm going to go into sparring tonight at a higher level, and it's going to be some event tonight, and that because Dan's motivated me hugely, and if somebody could come up and film that the footage of me I'd be in flow state. So I like just getting to speak to these people, and everybody in the world of mixed martial arts are all dealing with the same things. We're all dealing with these. We're anxious. We have to be on all the time. We're constantly training. We're constantly under nutrition. We're constantly training hard. Our bodies are breaking down, and we all have this same experience. And it's just good to hear like a guy like Dan Hardy, who went from being fighting GSP for the title to having some like amazing knockouts, to being a pioneer of UK MMA, to be at the world stage, to then go on and being like one of the best commentators, to physically break down fights, and his analysis is superb. To now being the PFL European matchmaker, like, I'm thinking like, right, there is a path for me. There is paths for me, but right now there's still something left in mixed martial arts and in the UFC especially.
I mean, it's just the last couple here. It's different with Bo because obviously he's got that wrestling background, that wrestling pedigree, but you're of a time where the sport, kids weren't coming up training mixed martial arts. They were doing jiu-jitsu, boxing. How do you think that's changed the sport? Do you think that's for the better now that they've got these people coming up, and that's why we're getting these closer competitive bouts? In how, not difficult, you've been at it for so long, but how much does that change now when you're preparing for these younger guys and you know that they're coming up as a mixed martial artist as opposed to just specialising in one?
When I look at guys in the gym, and I'm thinking about like Mark Ewan, who's fighting in the PFL this weekend, he grew up in a different time for me. He's probably 2 generations away from where I grew up in mixed martial arts. We were jiu-jitsu guys, wrestling, boxing, karate, whatever it was you were, and you were trying to blend them all together. But I was a jiu-jitsu guy who was trying to learn to strike, whereas I look at these guys now and they've got it all. They're able to mix it in, they're able to strike, they're able to take down, they're able to grapple, get back to their feet. The game has changed massively from when I first started, and it's difficult now because what you're now looking at is like, right, Bo Nickal is a wrestler, and he's always going to resort back to what his bread and butter is, but his striking ability, his ability to throw these overhands, his grappling ability and everything is just, he's a mixed martial artist. Whereas there's still a place for us old one-trick ponies. I do believe that when you think about guys who have got that power in their hands, who don't have to worry about grappling and just are able to land on you like Tuivasa. Like, he's still got it. Like, you're not going to see him like now going to pulling off flying triangles. That's not going to happen. But there's a space for us. But the game's starting to develop, and I feel it as I'm in that gym and I'm like the old guy. And there's like, when I think about, I'm 36, Mark's 25.
Yeah.
Like, there's a massive age gap there between me. I remember going to shows as a young guy and seeing Mark and him talking to me, and I'm like, he's built different. His mindset just now, and he must have been about 19 at the time. His mindset right now is what a champion will be, and it's exciting to see these guys move on and how UK and Scottish MMA is going to develop, because there was only maybe a handful of guys when you think about like who's made it to the UFC. There's myself, Stevie Ray, who's also fighting PFL this Saturday. Robert Whiteford, same as well. He's on the PFL. Joanne Calderwood, who's retired, and then we had Chris Duncan, who's fighting this weekend in Paris. So to be one of the 5 guys for your country is incredible. But within the next 10 years, there's just going to be UFC Scottish guys after UFC Scottish guys, or not even getting to the UFC, because I do believe places like PFL are making a massive difference, because gone are the days where it was just this one horse race. I don't believe this. I believe that it's better for the sport to have an organisation like PFL to have, if you don't make the UFC or you don't make PFL, there's other options there. Yeah. It's great for the sport to have more than one big promotion.
Finally then, come that night at Madison Square Gardens, what can fight fans expect from a Paul Craig performance?
Yeah, you know it's going to be one of these moments where you're like, it's tough being a Paul Craig fan, because you're like, but then there's that, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be that moment where I'm going to take shots. I'm not going to out wrestle him, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to out jitsu him. I'm going to be able to show him some of that bear jiu-jitsu, which has got me to the UFC, which has got me some of the best submissions in my career. And it's a bad night for him, and I do believe it's a terrible matchup. And I think that's why he dragged his heels on signing the contract, because I don't think he's got the confidence that he's had previously, and we're tough. So it's going to be a good night to be a Paul Craig fan, but don't get me wrong, it's going to be up and down. You're definitely going to be a lot more stressed watching me fight.
Just on that, sorry then, just quickly, one last one. Obviously, like you say, he dragged his heels a bit with this. A lot of people seem to call you out post-fight, but then it wasn't this. Were you expecting maybe a different name, like the likes of Joe Pyfer or?
Yeah. So within about the space of a month, we had GM3 calling us out and Joe Pfeiffer, and we said we'd take both of them. Like, one of the things when I started this sport, we never ever picked the easy fight. We would always pick the UFC would offer us a fight, and we were like, yep, we'll take that. Like, we never went back and saying, oh, can we have an easier fight, or can we have a more favourable fight? We'll just be like, no, we'll take it. So we did accept him, but the UFC had a different plan for us, and this plan kind of works out better for us. We're coming off a few losses, maybe another 2 losses, and I'm out the UFC. You never know with the UFC. It could be 1 loss and we're out the UFC, but I believe this is a more favourable fight than, like, say, Joe Pfeiffer, who hits heavy, and good grappling, good MMA fighter. Yeah. I do believe this is a much more favourable fight, but as I said, like, my career is going to be fighting the best in the best, and come that Saturday night, the 16th of November in MSG, place is going to erupt, and I'm going to go out and party in New York City.
As a response to that as well, Joe Pyfer seemed to feel that you not mean mugged him, but you had an interaction, and that was where his dislike, as he said, from your side of it. Can you remember this interaction?
So I can't remember this interaction. Obviously, like, during fight week, you're cutting weight, you're thinking about your fight, and Joe Pfeiffer said, he nodded at me like as if he's like fucking Tony Soprano. Like, when I nod, you nod back. And I was like, I have no idea who you are, mate. Like to me, I'm not a massive UFC fan, so I don't watch week in, week out and being like, oh, what about this guy? What about this guy? I have no idea who he was. And it wasn't me trying to mean mug him, but come when we fight, I'll fucking take his soul, man. And then he'll know what mean mugging is.
On that then, Paul, we'll leave that there. Thank you so much,
Thanks
mate,
so
and
much.
all the
It's a
best in
pleasure.
November. Thank you.